and welcome to our CPP CommunityCast. My name is Andrea Andy Handy, and I am a learning and development consultant here at Cal Poly Pomona.
And I am Jesus Avalos, and I too am a learning and development consultant, also here at Cal Poly Pomona. I always feel awkward saying it because unless we're talking to somebody from another campus, which we might be. So yes, I'm here at Cal Poly Pomona.
Everyone, my name is Miguel Urrutia, and I'm a multimedia analyst for EOD HR Operations.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And welcome everyone, all of our listeners and viewers. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you're doing well. For those of you who have listened to our podcast before, you might notice we're changing things up. If it's your first time, I hope that you enjoy our new segment that we've just added, which is called Did You Know? And this is where we share some interesting facts, information, or tidbits about Cal Poly Pomona. And so I'll go ahead and pass it over to Miguel for our Did You Know portion.
Thank you, Andy. So for this section of Did You Know section, we actually have a few things we would like to share. So if you guys are currently viewing our video, we have some new content, which is our walk and talks that have been being hosted by Andrea Handy. And so I'm going to share a quick snippet of our latest episode that we had.
And just some insider information, it was Miguel who edited the video. So we're excited to show it to you. And while Miguel's pulling that up, just some background on the walk and talks. The walk and talks are something that we've been doing for over a year, and it's really a great opportunity for faculty, staff to be able to explore the different parts of our campus, because we have so many different wonderful areas, departments that a lot of times we just don't get to see. So we've been to the Arabian Horse Center, we've been to our, we were at our farm store, and this one is at the Rose Float Lab, our brand new Rose Float Lab. So we take staff and we get tours, we get some exercise, and we get to spend some time together. So we're really excited about them. So without any further ado, Miguel, I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Sis. And I'm going to head up, press play just a few minutes to know a little bit more about the Rose Float.
I will tell you that there are 4 operators that do drive this, or that are part of this float. We have our construction chair, Sam, who drives the float on this side. Jeremy Sim, who's on the other side from Slow, he's the observer. And then we have 2 people who are engine operators and animation engine operators. We have 2 V8 engines that actually run off propane, that actually run the animation systems, everything that moves. And then we have another engine that actually drives the float as it goes down the route, the 5.2 miles that it goes down. Everything runs on propane. We're one of the few buildings that use propane. A lot of them use CNG, or they use just regular gas. And there's a lot of rules and regulations that we have to follow within the tournament handbook to be able to do all that stuff. Normally when we move the float, we have 4 outwalkers that sit on each corner. And so we have safety. Our building is 25 feet tall so that we can actually extend our overheight. Our overheight this year is about 22 feet high tall, but because it has to come down because we go underneath the 210 freeway at one point, we are required to have a mechanism that can come down and go underneath 16.6. The moon itself is about 16 feet tall, and so that doesn't have to move in any way because it does fit underneath the bridge over by the 210.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Miguel. And that was super fun. I had a great time at our walk and talk. I'm really looking forward to learning more about the Rose Float. And I am now going to pass it over to Jesus, who is going to be our interviewer for the day, and we'll be introducing our guests.
All right, great. Thank you, Andy. So I'm very excited to have 2 of our leaders that are working with our Rose Float. So thank you for joining us. I'd like to introduce Carrie Katab, who is our director of Rose Float, and also Christopher Nares, who is the Rose Float president for Cal Poly Pomona. And you'll notice that I emphasize Cal Poly Pomona because we actually have 2 presidents. Unfortunately, Regina wasn't able to join us, but I did want to make sure that we highlight that, and we'll be speaking about that in just a little bit. So Carrie, Christopher, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. And Christopher, I love the background. I don't know if you have to know a special handshake or something to get that background, but I just wanted to put that out there, that if there's a way that we can steal that background from you. Again, that might be special. It's special just to your group, but I love it. So welcome to both of you. So wanted to just start off our conversation by talking a little bit about your background and really how you came into your role and how you came to be involved with the Rose Float. So Carrie, if we can start with you, if you can just tell us how you came into your role and what your role is.
Well, it started as I was working for a company called Blizzard Entertainment, and my job was coming to an end, and I was looking to possibly go back into semi-retirement and raise my two little daughters. And I always was looking at different opportunities, how I could help, help the community back, help things that I've learned and help the, people. And so I saw a job posting on Cal Poly Pomona website about a job as the director of the Rose Float program, and it intrigued me. So I thought, why not try to apply and see what happens? And if it was meant to be, it was meant to be. And, I was able to get hired on and hopefully be part of a legacy that's been in the making for 73 years and be able to contribute to these students who are amazing people from all the different colleges, and be able to give them the tools necessary so that when they go into the work environment, that I can help them prepare for being ready to go from day one. So that's really, the drive behind why I applied for it and was lucky enough to be selected and to come join this amazing team. So.
And that's a wonderful why, Carrie, and we're glad that you are in your role. And with that in mind, can you tell us a little bit about your role as the director of the Rose Float?
So how I see my role as it's evolving is really taking the student leadership committee of the presidents and the 3 design, deco, and construction chairs, and giving them the guidance to basically look about how to plan, execute, and build a float. We do that in conjunction with our partner from SLO, who also has the same thing, president, construction, deco, and design chairs. And I have a counterpart as well over there. And our job is to really give them the guidance and pushing them in the right direction of how about going about doing that. And just like kids, we want to be able to let them stumble a few times so that they learn the process about how to build a float and basically how to plan and execute. The building of the float to me is the third thing, but it's the planning and executing which they're going to learn because they take their academic learning and they apply that into a process that eventually builds a product that we get to go down Colorado on January 1st. So that's really where I see myself, in helping them get there, from all the things that we do, from just not only building, but we provide hospitality, we provide foods on the weekend for our things, we provide merchandise, we have our social media site, we're doing fundraising, we're doing all kinds of stuff. So kind of helping them get to that point and elevating the experience so that they bring a more project management based scenario to our program with doing that. But again, giving them some guidance, but allowing them to make some decisions and succeed in some areas and fail in some other areas. But that's part of our learn by doing mantra, I think, in positioning them. I've always said that I want my students to go up against people that were to go to Stanford or Yale or Harvard or anything like that. And what brings them apart is that we have something that they don't have, right? They may have academics, but we have academics and the ability to build something. So JPL could say, hey, I need to hire you, and from day one, you're ready to go. So.
Yeah, some of my best lessons came from experience. So that completely resonates with me. So thank you, Carrie. And so, Christopher, I'd love to pose that same question to you. Can you tell us about how you came into your role and what your role is as president?
Yeah, so how I came into this role, it started out probably when I was a volunteer. I started following around the previous 2 generations ago, President Josh Lim and past advisor Heather Hansen, and I just kept on asking questions. I was just super interested in the program and everything about it. And so I just got to learn everything, the ins and outs of what the president does, and also all the types of communications that they have with people, and as well as what each of the departments do and their actual value in the program. And so previous year, I was the vice president since with Cindy Dice, who was the previous president, and I got to learn from her again more about what it means to be the president, which I'll get to in just a minute. And then this year I decided to apply myself to become the president. And I was lucky enough to be able to get this position, thankfully, because of the team. So what it actually means to be president is to be able to be that bridge between all the different departments. So making sure they're in constant communication with each other, with not only cross-departmentally, but also with their counterparts. So that means since it's across 2 campuses working together, that everyone from Pomona also communicates with everyone from San Luis Obispo. And then in addition to that, it's also making sure that they're communicating with the advisors as well, and the campus. So not only with students, but also with the faculty too. And so what that actually entails is you have, each department has to make decisions that might conflict with other departments. So for example, decorations, you think floral and things like that, right? They may have to know the exact square footages on a certain element or something that design makes or shapes. So you have to make sure that they're communicating in that sense. And also, it requires you to take good notes on everything, continue to learn from each of the chairs and everybody else on the team too.
So communication seems like it's the lifeblood of the work that you do.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Christopher. So now the next question is for you, Carrie, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about the history of the Cal Poly Rose Flow program.
Yeah, the program actually predates our university in itself. In 1949, Don Miller received a phone call from a tournament to ask if they wanted to to be in the Rose Flow program. And so he thought about it, and the lore of the story is that he had a girlfriend he wanted to impress. So he said, sure, let me do that. And him and a bunch of friends got together, and for $250, they built the Rocking Horse float. That is the first float that was presented. And at that time, we were part of the Voorhees College, which was part of San Luis Obispo at the time. And so from then on, it kind of took a life on its own. And for every year thereafter, we started building floats and representing our Cal Poly University for that. Somewhere when we became a campus, our own college, we continued in that same way, and we had students both from representing Pomona and SLO that would get together to build a float every year for the Tournament of Roses Parade on January 1st. And so over the course of 73 years, we've been building floats in a combined capacity with a joint program, even before we were a college, and now that we are both colleges. And so we've been doing that since 1949. Ron Simons, who kind of took over the mantle from Don Miller, carried the program on and held it dear as he was part of university advancement for the longest time, and kept the program moving and forward while it had its trials and tribulations and challenges and problems and issues and stuff. But I believe, this program has become a signature piece for both SLO and for Pomona, showcasing what our students are capable of doing. So.
And we're coming up on our 75th anniversary then, Carrie, is that right?
2 years.
Wow. So there's got to be a big celebration plan for that. And so we're looking forward to it, whatever that is. But you mentioned Ron Simons. If you get the CPP magazine, there's a wonderful profile of him, if I'm not mistaken, in that magazine. So thank you for sharing that history with us. It's great to know that we've got such a wonderful tradition here on campus with that, even predating us. So thank you. So Christopher, the next question is for you. And you mentioned the collaboration between the 2 campuses, and also Carrie had alluded to it. Can you talk more about that? And also the collaboration that you have with your counterpart, Regina, over at Cal Poly SLO.
So as you know, San Luis Obispo, the campus is 200 plus miles away. So they have to wake up every morning at 4 o'clock on every Saturday around that time and drive down to come work at our lab here in Pomona. So it's quite incredible to see them actually, that commitment that they have to this program. And so I guess the way that, we kind of repay that is we end up driving up for different events such as Big Design and Concept Contest, where we drive to San Luis Obispo to decide on the design and the concepts and sort through them to pick that design, or in other big events such as that. So I guess the relationship I would say between us is a mutual one. Like every single decision that Pomona and San Luis Obispo makes, we make together, and that's the same with Regina and me. All decisions we always discuss and talk about before coming forward with the final decision, and we include the advisors as well.
And again, Regina was unable to join us because of class commitments, because all of you would think it's important to remember are students. And so it makes it just that much more admirable, but also impressive that you all are able to do this work while still balancing all of the responsibilities and commitments you have as students. So another question for you, Christopher, and that is, can you talk about the theme of our current float that you all are working on?
Yeah, so the Tournament of Roses gave us the theme of Dream, Believe, Achieve. So for this year, we're doing the hey, like a twist on Hey Diddle Diddle. The cow jumped over the moon, and so we're actually showing the process of how the cows are building prototype jetpacks. They're like welding, and then they're testing those jetpacks, and then they're finally achieving their goal and jumping over the moon. And it's quite incredible to see. And it really embodies Cal Poly University.
So you're telling me, wait a minute, you're bursting a bubble here, Christopher. You're telling me the cow didn't jump over the moon. The cow actually used a jetpack, is what you're trying to tell me?
Yes. Yeah,
so
through hard work.
Wrong all these years.
Hey, Seuss, I'd like to jump in and ask a question if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you come up with all of the different ideas with the cow jumping over the moon? Where does that come from?
So that comes from our concept contest. So we open that up to everyone, alumni, friends, family, just anyone who wants to submit a concept, we accept. And then we go through a process where we narrow down those concepts. So we have I would say 500 plus that we have to sort through as both campuses. It's pretty incredible, actually.
And can you tell us a little bit more about that, Christopher? When does that normally take place? How do people submit a because I'm sure there might be some people that are either watching or listening to this that might want to submit an idea.
Yeah, so I believe, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, about a month after tournament gives us the concept, which this year was Dream, Believe, Achieve. Through either campus, they could submit either a drawing or even just written words of a concept. And how that process works is we give about a week, I believe, a week or two, to gather all those concepts, and then we gather them all together and we drive up to Pomona, goes up to San Luis Obispo, and we present each of them one at a time and go through all of them and narrow down our choices from there. So I believe they would contact, I'm not sure, Carrie, if I'm getting this correctly, they would contact either the advisors for that information.
So yeah, Chris, you're pretty spot on that. Basically, a couple of weeks after January, as the new president of the tournaments phase out, the new president releases their theme for that year, and we take the theme and we present to both campuses and to alumni and everybody in our posts to say, hey, here's the new theme. Come up with a concept of what you would see a float to be like. And so Chris is right. Once we do that, there's probably a 2 to 3 week window in which then we drive up to SLO and we go through all the submissions. And some are really nicely done in Photoshop, and some are just hand sketches, and some are just kind of like kitchen napkin type of things. But we take all of those and we narrow them down to our top 5 picks, because we then have to go into what's called a lottery with the Tournament of Roses and present the top 2 that we want to present for our concept for our float. And they either approve or deny our concept. And basically what will happen is then they'll approve our concept in the second week of February after we do that. And then we are off to the races of now designing our float and designing the concept of that float from what it looks like to what's going to move to all those things. And that's the big design idea that Chris was alluding to.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for clarifying. I think it's wonderful that you're opening that up to get different suggestions, but I guess it makes sense. The more suggestions, the more opportunities you have to get that idea that really resonates. So a question for you, Carrie, is where are you right now in terms of the building process? Like, what step are you in, I guess, if you can describe the steps, and where are you right now? Because obviously we're coming into, I guess, the home stretch, right? We're in the beginning of December.
Yeah, definitely. So the students have been working really hard since the two halves. So there are two halves to our 55-foot float, basically, that marry. So we build kind of on our side, and then Slow builds on their half. And then in the second week of October, they drive their half down. We marry them together and make our float becomes a full chassis. Then we decide that we're going to build a pod that goes over the top, which is kind of a wired mesh that actually makes the shell that goes on top. While our construction teams and our design teams and our decorative teams are working on the mechs, which are the moving parts of this, the shapes of the cows and the different elements that go on it. Design or Deco is working on taking different samples of dry goods to make colors that we can actually apply, because everything has to be covered in an organic thing, whether it's flour or dry goods. So think about taking onion seed and pepper and grinding those up to make a gray color. Right. So it's all these elements that go behind making that happen. So our team has worked diligently up right before Thanksgiving, because basically what happens is the Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving, we actually then sheet the entire float in basically bed sheets, and they come in and they foam it. And that makes the hard shell that you see what's on top of the float. And then typically that leads up into what we call our dead week, and then our finals week on both campuses, where the students are hyper focused on finishing their studying for their finals, because next week is finals for that. So we have no work on the float at any time during these 2 weeks. Basically, once that happens, December 11th on both campuses, we go into what's called design week. And design week is basically 10 to 12-hour days for the next 2 weeks that we are finishing shaping the float, getting it ready, putting screen on all the other elements that didn't get foam on it, getting the float painted and getting it ready, and making sure that everything can animate and work, and that we paint the underbelly of the float before it gets decorated. So that happens for basically 2 weeks until we do what's called a move out on this time is December 19th, where we'll actually get the float out. We christen it like we christen a boat with the two presidents, and they break a bottle of champagne over it. And then we basically say, all right, thank you, Pomona. We're heading to Pasadena. And we head on down to Pasadena. And so right now, so we're in a quiet period, and then it's going to be a crazy period coming up starting after the 11th.
So Christopher, is it fair to say that on January 2nd, you sleep for about 2 weeks? Is that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like nonstop up until that point. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And now, question, this is for both of you. What's the most challenging aspect of creating the roast float? Because there are a lot of pieces, from conception to design to creation to transportation. What do you consider the most challenging part of this whole process, either for you or for the teams that you're working with? And I'll start with Christopher.
Yeah, Christopher.
That's a tough question. Let's see here. The toughest thing about I would say the challenges that come up when something doesn't go correctly, which it never does. That's probably the biggest issue. And so, for example, the size might not be the same as something else. Like we might have gotten a measurement wrong on something. And so those little challenges add up, and it does create problems. But the great thing about it is we overcome those problems every single time. And so I would say, although it's the greatest difficulty about the float, it is also the greatest feeling of accomplishment you get for fixing those problems.
Yeah. And it just goes along with what Carrie was talking about, learn by doing, and what great lessons in terms of the challenges still present opportunities to you, and that opportunity to really learn from it. So great. Thank you, Christopher, for sharing. So Carrie, what about you? What do you think the most challenging aspect of working with the float is?
I have mine's kind of double sorted in a way, but to Chris's point, and something that we all can relate to, communication really is our biggest challenge, right? We go throughout our busy day doing all kinds of work and stuff like that, and we all get these epiphanies like, oh, nobody told me, or I didn't know, or why wasn't I instructed? So that's really one of the key things that I see is that because our team is so unique, and we have dual roles, executive roles, and we have two teams that are working on it, is communication. Yeah. And I think they're really learning well to how to make sure that when they do that, sometimes they over communicate or they over ask, sometimes, and we don't get a decision made because we're waiting for everybody to kind of chime in. And it's funny because at Blizzard Entertainment, one of their pillars is everybody has a voice. But we used to say that not everybody has a voice, but not everybody has the decision, right? Yeah. So it's good to get everybody's voice and listen to everybody, but sometimes you have to make a decision. We have to move forward, and doing so, sometimes some people will feel like they're hurt or their opinion wasn't listened to, or some people weren't included in it. But a decision is done best for the entire program and does for the entire team, for the float, for everything that we have to do. So that's really one of the things I think, and they're really done a superb job in communicating better. Chris alluded to the fact that communication is challenging because we have our design team will say, okay, I want the cow to be welding. Okay, fine. Your arm is going up and down. They'll design an arm that goes up and down. But we need to shape it. We need to put flowers on it. We need to deco it. It adds weight. It adds size. It adds girth. And if that isn't communicated along the teams, then construction who designed it may not have put a big enough motor on it. May not have taken into account the full range of motion that an arm has to go. So those are the challenges that Chris brings up to that we have to constantly continue to solve and continue to do it. One of our biggest challenges is a supply issue right now, right? Everybody across the world, I mean, think about there's no toilet paper, right? Now we've got toilet paper, but we're having that with flowers. So we're coming into a challenge where we're going to find out in the middle of December, towards the end of December, when we decorate, we open the back of the truck, what actually arrived and what it doesn't look like. And so we are at that mercy. And so that's going to be a great opportunity for our team to look to basically figure out how to make the solution, right? We have a rendering, but is that rendering going to be exactly 100% the float? Probably not. But they're going to make an epic float, and they're going to make it their float. And they're going to do that knowing that they had some challenges and they had some hurdles and they had some obstacles. They had some disagreements. They had some agreements. But this, at the end of the day, on January 2nd at 8 o'clock in the morning, when that float takes to the street, they can sit back and say, look, we went through all these trials and tribulations and we were proud about what we put out on the street. And so I think that's the exciting part of what happens. But communication is really the key, I think. That and planning, but that comes with understanding how to plan.
And our director, the director of our department, Michelle Elrod, she likes to say, you'll always have a voice, even if you don't always have a vote. So yeah, that resonated with me, that point that you made, Carrie. So thank you. And the final question for you, Carrie, and of course, Chris, you can also share if you like, but this podcast is viewed or listened to by people from all over the CPP community. So it could be students, or it could be staff or faculty or family members or alumni. How can people from all across the CPP community, how can they support your work and how can they get involved?
So we're working on doing that, right? As we're coming out of, I got hired during COVID and we're trying to come out of COVID, trying to basically unveil the curtain, say, hey, Rose Float is here. We were not out in the back 40 anymore. We're not just trying to build a float. It's a 13-month program that Chris and his team and all that put into this. And they put a lot of hours, they put a lot of effort into it. And we're really now just trying to get to the point where we're going to be able to reach out to the rest of the colleges across the campus and say that this program is your program, right? We represent both universities, and we want to be able to do that in a proud way, that all of our students that work on this come from different parts of the campus and different parts of the colleges. So we're working on trying to figure out the best way to do that through our social media campaigns, through our trying to get to meet a lot of the new administrators and deans of all the colleges, because we even hosted Collins College to come down and take a look at our program, because we feed our students. And I'm thinking another learn by doing opportunity is providing, hey, Collins College, you're teaching your students how to do this in the real world. Well, why don't you come and help us? We're going to have a commercial grade kitchen. We're going to have opportunity to be able to feed our students, plan, execute, and do stuff like that, to do that and take that load off of the students who may be engineering students who are working on a mech, who have to go and cook something for our students. We're trying to open up and do that. Fundraising is another thing. Merchandising is another thing. We're right next door to the apparel merchandising area, right? Why can't we have them help us design our merchandise that is going to be sold and be cutting edge, that we want to be able to be. We send floats that go down the route that are new first in hydraulics, new in optics, new in engineering and computers. We want to be able to be the first to maybe creating a some merchandise that hasn't been sold before that is kind of cool and can raise funds for our program. So we're looking at trying to do those kinds of things to say, hey, this float represents the universities on both campuses. How can everybody be involved? We want everybody to be involved. And hopefully our website will be able to start doing that. Our social media is going to start doing that. We're working with our Stratcom teams to be able to get the messages out more, and just basically being, having our presidents, talk. We tell all of our students who are on this team, you are our first advocates out there. Tell everybody who's around you in your classes about this program. Come join it. Just because you're not an engineering major doesn't mean you can't come help, that there isn't something that we can have you help and be part of. So that's really what we're hoping to do, that as we emerge out of this interesting COVID time that we've just kind of went through.
So maybe check your website and your social media and see if there are any as they come up.
Yeah, we're working on trying to become more proactively involved. We have a social media coordinator now that just got on board through our club, and
Nice.
we're trying to work towards being more forthcoming. We're trying to get all of our students in the LinkedIn pages so that when recruiters are looking for people on the LinkedIn stuff, they come across Chris and they can see, hey, you've got a resume here, let's talk to you about this. So we're trying to connect all the pieces and try to create our own social group, of alumni, because we have a huge alumni group, right? People that are working in currently, and new students who come here, find out why it's really advantageous to become part of the social program, because we get to do something that a lot of people don't get to do. So,
Great.
Chris, do you think there's anything?
Well, can I ask one more question too for you, Chris and Carrie? So I want to paint a picture for people who are listening or viewing. And so it's New Year's Day, right? We're eating our leftovers, we're in our pajamas, drinking our hot chocolate or coffee, and we're watching TV, and all of a sudden the Cal Poly float appears. And we're excited. I know one of your goals is to really make us all feel part of the Rose Float at Cal Poly, and we do, so thank you. But what are some really cool features that we can see on the float on that day? Maybe get a little behind the scenes look at some really cool, I think it's called animatronics. Is that the right terminology? Or is that not the right? I feel like it's not, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, animatronics is a Disney term, I think, or they use that in something that moves, a puppet.
I love Disney, so that totally makes sense.
Articulation or?
So what are some cool things that we might see on the float on that day?
Chris, you want to take that one?
Yeah, as I said, so the actual cow going over the moon. So you'll see that's our overheight. So we have the cow launching over the moon. So that's one of them. We have two cows, one of them welding. So you'll see its arm moving, and you also see another one pressing a button. And so when it's pressing a button, we'll have a jetpack going up and down. And in addition to that, this is the first time I believe we've done this, is we're having dry deco flow through the jetpack to give it that jet fuel kind of feel. So that's a really cool thing to look out for.
All right. I know. So now I know the correct term and I know what to watch out for. So that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, I'm glad you brought up the jetpack, because it is a variance in the thing that we're not being required to deco the outside of the clear tubes. The dry material that we're going to have inside mimics the combustion of chemicals or something that provide the lift in that. And that mechanism was what we call MEX in this particular thing, is something that going up and down and spins left to right and will give the illusion. So as the cow is pressing the button and doing that, this jetpack is taking off, and that's part of the storyline as it gets to where the overheight mech, which is, when we talk about overheight, we're over 16 feet 6 inches. Anything over 16.6 has to be able to fold it down to go underneath the 210 freeway. So that's why the cow is considered overheight mech, because it has to come down, and it has to come down in a certain amount of time to be able to go underneath the freeway. And that's mandated by the Tournament of Roses. So, and also in our drive, our convoy, when we leave on December 19th, everything we have is under 16.6, because everything that's built out on the streets is over 16.6. So we actually have a pace car in the front that has a rod up there that will be 16.6. And then if it hits anything, we stop and we figure out how do we get around it. But we've already addressed that in the first part of the drive over to Pasadena. So there's all those kinds of neat things to kind of look out for.
So many details to account for. It makes my head hurt just thinking about it.
I'm getting anxiety, Jesus.
Getting a feeling like butterflies. I'm surprised both of you are so calm. So you're both cool customers. And so thank you both. We really appreciate it. But we're not done yet. I'm going to hand it over to Miguel. And he's got a couple of other things that we want to talk to you about. So Miguel, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you, Sue. So, Chris, we're going to go over our tip, trick, or hack. This could be anything from an app to something like cooking recipe or something that you would like to share to the group.
Okay, can I share a location, like a place that I go to, like a new food place?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I did not know about this place before coming to Pomona, but there's a small little restaurant called Pro Tacos that I absolutely love going to. And so I yes, it is great. It is great. Please write it down. It is important, to go
You
there.
just blew Andy's mind. She loves tacos.
It's really
Everybody
good.
knows this. I'm all about taco everything. So we will go there for lunch tomorrow, Chris. Thank you.
So what do they need to get when they go to Pro Tacos, Chris?
Okay, I like the birria tacos. That's probably my favorite one there. I have to say that. But they will recommend. They're super nice staff there. They're super friendly. They're always very accommodating, and they're always they're just really nice people. So yeah, they'll tell you too.
They'll tell you they're nice. That's wonderful. Pro Tacos. All right, we're gonna have a link to that. If they have a website, we'll have a link to it in the show notes. I'm guessing, right, Miguel?
Exactly. All right. Thank you for that, Chris. Now we're going to jump into Carrie. We're going to go over into our lightning round questions. It's going to be a total of 15 questions, and just answer the first thing that comes to mind. You ready, Carrie?
Yeah, shoot.
All right, let's go. Texting or talking?
Talking.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Favorite child TV show?
The Three Stooges.
Nice. Favorite number?
4.
Cake or pie?
Plaid.
What's your favorite vehicle?
My favorite vehicle, a truck.
Nice. What's your favorite carnival food?
Australian potatoes.
Oh, that sounds really good. How about favorite video game?
Mass Effect.
Oh, nice, Mass Effect. Okay, we'll talk about that later. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
Only one.
Okay. Yeah, same here.
Only one ritually in the morning, and that's it. I have to have it.
Yeah. What's your middle name if you have one?
I don't have one actually.
Okay. If you did have a middle name, what would it be?
It would have been Carrie, because
Carrie?
Carrie is not my real official name, so that would have
Oh.
probably been my middle name.
Got it. How many pets do you have?
We have a dog, 2 fish, so 3.
Nice. Place you most want to travel to?
That I haven't been to or that I would like to go to.
Would like to go to?
I'd like to go to Bali.
Oh, nice. Let's see. Favorite flower?
It's not the rose. It's oh, I can see it. It's I used to give it to my wife all the time. It's kind of not an orchid, but there's a calla lily. I like calla lilies.
Oh. And last but not least, what is your favorite ice cream?
Chocolate chip.
Oh, yes.
From Thrifty's. From Thrifty's on top of it. So it's got to be Thrifty's.
Oh, Thrifty's ice cream. See, I'm thinking Pro Tacos and then go to Thrifty's ice cream for dessert.
Yeah.
I'm in. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Miguel, for a really fun tip, trick, or hack and lightning round. Chris will definitely be going to Pro Tacos, and Carrie, anytime we need your help, we'll bring you chocolate chip Thrifty's ice cream. Well, thank you all so much. This has been such a fun episode, and I am really excited for people to hear or watch this and build a connection to the Rose Float and on the day of, and just that overall excitement of being so involved and being proud and being part of the process. And so we appreciate you being here today. And in the words of Dr. Seuss, the more that you read, the more that things you'll know, the more that you'll learn, the more places you'll go. Thanks so much for being here, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Ellen?